Well, 22 days of rain solid and the sun finally came out today. Yep, I'm outside transplanting, putting seeds in the ground, doing all sorts of things, picking green beans that I've been avoiding for a while. It's just rained. Oh my goodness. Y'all had bad weather over there on the mainland. Well, it was here first and then it moved your way. Yeah, it's not been good, and it's been cold too. Punxsutawney Phil, that groundhog, he was right on. 6 more weeks of winter. I'm actually having trouble getting seeds to germinate here because it's cool. Anywho, today I'd like to talk about lizards. Yeah, lizards. Strange topic, isn't it? We first bought this piece of property. It was basically just cow pasture. And when we did that, there were 2 types of lizards that were inhabiting this environment. We had the little gray, black, shiny skink, and then we also had a few of the true chameleons, the Jackson chameleons from Madagascar. Those guys with the swivelly eye sockets, and funny walk. Yeah, we had those too, but we really didn't have anything else around here. If you go over to the west side of the island, I know we used to see quite a bit of the geckos, Madagascar type geckos and a few others. Well, after a while, when we went ahead and started to develop the land, and we started building structures and putting in gardens and planting shrubbery and stuff like that, well, the whole population of lizards around here changed. It increased, really, but the variety of lizards that we had increased too at the same time. Some of it, I think, was due to people coming from the west side of the island, the lizards get in their cars, they'd get out here, and the geckos would hop out, But we didn't have a single green gecko originally here. But I ended up eventually having skinks, Jackson chameleons, anole, or pronounce it anole, take your pick. It's the American chameleon. They come in at least 2 races here known as green and gray. And so both of those showed up. Originally the green, but then the gray showed up, was more aggressive. And the green's been a little frightened since then. The Madagascar gecko, or the Geico gecko, we had him show up. Kind of cute little guy. There's another gecko similar to him, but not as brightly colored, that showed up. And then we also got the moho. That's the house gecko. Almost a flesh-colored gecko, pretty large. Real freaky at night. If I'm wandering down the hallways at night, doing a braille with the lights off, using my hands to figure out where I'm at, boy, I'll put my hand on top of one of those on a door frame at night, and they are cold, and they feel wet, and it's like, what was that? Turn on the light, and there's a gecko looking at me. That, or it gets cold, I slam the window shut in the middle of the night, and wake up in the morning with 4 legs sticking out of the window track where I closed one of them. Yeah, so I can't hardly do anything around here anymore without having lizards running all over the place. We got so many. The visitors who come here are often amazed by all of our lizards. Some of them actually, like those brightly colored geckos, mainland pet store, they're probably worth $60 to $80 a piece. I'm sure the anoles are worth a little bit too. I know 50s and 60s, those were popular. You pin one with a little piece of string to your shirt or blouse, And so, after a while, because we've been changing the environment, and along with it, reptiles are changing, I began trapping Chinese fruit fly here. It's a yellow fruit fly using methyl eugenol lures. And, the lizards love that. Wow, they would gather around those traps and just snap flies, like they don't have to work for food anymore, hardly. They just sit there and get fat. At first, when I'd walk by my traps or get near the lizards, they'd scurry. They were all nervous and afraid of me. There's still plenty of them around here that are, but there's a whole bunch more of them that probably finally decided I'm not a threat. They don't give me any mind at all anymore. I walk by the lizards, they look at me, and they just keep waiting for flies or whatever they're up to. Yeah, well, yesterday was a step beyond. That was the crown on this one. It was pouring, and so I was just sitting there on the lanai out there, the front porch, and just watching the afternoon pass. And it was cold for Hawaii. It was cold. I had, long sleeves, long pants, a sweatshirt on, and I'm sitting there on the porch and wearing my overalls, and I had flies gathering on my legs of my overalls, and my first thought was, boy, Bill, it's about time you put these in the laundry, man. But no, actually, I figured out after a while what was happening is the flies were drawn to the heat that was escaping out of the denim of my overalls. And so they were kind of enjoying the warmth, and they wanted to hang out with me. I had about 3 of them on my pants legs. There were at least 2 of them on the brown mat beneath my feet, and then one buzzing around in the air. It was kind of annoying, but they don't bite. So anyway, look across the porch from where I'm at, and about 4 feet away on a porch post, here's one of the gray anoles. It's a big one too, real large lizard. Man, about that long. And he's staring at me. He's on that porch post, and he's just looking across. It's the flies. Yeah, he sees those flies, man. And he's going, oh, man, that guy gathers flies. I like him. And so he's watching the flies. And I finally got tired of the flies, I don't know what I was going to do about it. But I looked at the lizard, and he was intently staring at me. And so I looked him square in the eye, and I used the universal sign of come on by curling my fingers into my palm instantly. I mean, like streak. That lizard leapt from the post, ran straight across the porch, and stopped right between my feet, right below my nose. And he's sitting down there deciding whether, I guess, he was going to hunt flies that were on the mat, because they were close, or whether it was risky enough to run up my leg and to try to get the ones on my legs. I don't really want him getting that personal, and so I was hoping he'd deal with the flies on the mat. Sure enough, that was the choice the lizard made, and so he just parked himself right between my 2 feet, staring at a fly that was a few inches off his nose, and then he changed the exact same color as the brown mat, so he became almost invisible. Well, eventually, leapt forward real quick, grabbed that fly, and he got a meal. And I go, wow, look at that. Pretty neat. Now, this is no game for these guys, though. This is a living. This is what they do. If they don't get the flies, the poor things will waste away. It's serious business, these flies. And so I'm realizing, most of us don't really believe we can communicate with animals much. I think it's because humans are so language oriented. And unless you have like a dog or a cat or a fish that you've trained to a language, by repetition, they don't understand English. People say you can yell a couple of 4-letter words in English loud enough and everybody knows what you mean. That's probably true with a dog too. But fact is, most animals have no idea what human language is all about. Yet they communicate constantly, and intelligence, the reason I think we have intelligence is because the entire universe is also intelligent, and we're just a product of it. And so, I've been, I will say, educated by the animals over the years, by my dogs, by my fish, that I'm kind of dumb because I don't think animals understand me. Well, at some point in time, I started communicating with the animals that were near me. My pet fish, I used to be able to talk to them and get them to come and so on. After a while, by training them to sounds, my dog is the one who taught me how to hunt a squirrel. Dog's instinct knew how it was done. Bill didn't. Dog taught me. So, we're talking, they're pretty smart. They're just not smart really quite in the human sense. So With a lizard, if there's one universal topic of conversation that a man can engage in with a lizard, it's flies. Really. The guy, he don't want the flies. The lizard, he wants the flies. And so the two of you have an exchange going on. And well, I swear, it could have been a coincidence that when I gestured for the lizard to come, that it just was that moment he decided he was running over. But it seemed more. It really did. It was kind of interesting there. And so then there was another fly on the mat, and he lined up getting ready for that one too. It was interesting because they're very patient. To hunt, they have to be. And so he, colored himself like the mat, and he was a little further from that fly, and he waited and waited and waited, hoping the fly was going to move closer. The fly didn't, and he finally kind of said, oh well, and ran at the fly, missed, just by a bit, missed the fly. He goes, darn. Well, there's more flies here. And so at this point, it was time for me to get up and go pull my cornbread out of the oven. And so I looked down, there he was between my feet. I got up, I walked in to the house, and sure enough, he stayed right where he was, waiting for the flies to come down so he can get another one. I would say that was probably the first experience I have ever had with actually being able to extend communication between me and a reptile. Now that they've become used to me, they're not scared of me anymore. And so it looks like now they're even listening to me. The one thing I hope the heck that, these things do talk. There's a voice. The lizards here all sing, not as loud as the koki, but they sing. Whether it's the anoles or it's the geckos that sing, I really don't know. I know the geckos will sing. The moho is known for its night song, but there's a couple of different songs out here, and so it's possible the anoles also have a song to them. So they do have some sort of a language, but their language is pretty much centered around breeding. That's all. They don't use it for much anything else. Anyway, folks, there you have it. Unusual lizard experience. Aloha. Hang loose. Next time you see a lizard, try waving to it. See what happens. Maybe it'll wave back. Bye-bye.